good evening, good morning, a good day, depending on the part of the world that you are in right now. And welcome to the session on Riding the Wave of Change, Lessons from the Tata Business Excellence Model. We are really excited to have this opportunity to connect with everybody. And a big thank you to Deepak for being with us today. Deepak Deshpande is our speaker for today, and he's really going to be the one who's going to open the window for us in terms of the learning and insights. So Deepak, thanks so much for accepting our invite.
Thanks, Pearl. It's been my pleasure. It's always fun doing webinars. Either it's for the Tata Group that we have been doing hosting jointly. So really happy to be doing this with you for free, Pearl. Thanks.
Thanks, Deepak. Thank you. And hearty welcome once again to everybody. And if this is the first time you're joining us on a pre-Pearl webinar, then definitely welcome. And my name is Pearl D'Souza McKinsey. I'm the director at Pre-Pearl Training Development. At Pre-Pearl, we work in the area of leadership, working with teams, and organization culture. So behavioral change management is really the core of what we do. Our forte lies in the area of maximizing potential. So whether that's at an individual level, a team level, or an organization level. And when it comes to organizations, that's when we're really getting into the culture change process. We represent Grid International in India, and we're very proud Belvin regional representatives India for Belvin team roles. I'm an accredited professional, of course, and also one of the facilitators for the accreditation programs. And that's really how I got to meet Deepak and work closely with Deepak now for over about 4 years now that Tata Business Excellence has been leveraging Belvin. And that's what we're really going to deep dive into also. Before we do that, I am going to take this opportunity to also let you know about our forthcoming events, just in case you would want to put a placeholder in your calendar. So we've got a global webinar that's being hosted by Belvin UK that's happening on the 10th of June. This is with Belvin and Appreciative Inquiry. So if change is a theme that you have been looking at, then this is definitely a webinar that you may want to check out. The Belvin accreditation is happening between 15th and 18th of June in its new blended learning format, completely virtual. So that's happening again next month. And then we have a global workshop on redefining change, Belvin and Appreciative Inquiry, again being hosted by Belvin UK and us, and this is on the 28th and 29th of June 2021. So you may just want to make a note of those dates, and at the end of today's session we'll also let you know how you can get more details on any of these if you're interested. Now coming back to the present moment and what we're going to be discussing, we are looking at riding the wave of change, lessons from the Tata Business Excellence Model. I think especially for all of us in India, Tata's is a name we've all grown up with, very closely related to really the growth of our country also, and synonymous with values and really excellence. And I think it is truly an opportunity that personally is an opportunity that I cherish to really understand what goes behind this great brand. What are some of the elements that really help drive the business and really help that merging of both heart and mind and creating impact. And we are, of course, as I said, extremely happy that Deepak has been able to join us. Deepak Deshpande is Head HR Practices Group HR Project at Tata Business Excellence Group at Tata Sense. Deepak is a thought leader on people dimensions. In my experience working with him, he's passionate about his work. I think passionate about growth for individuals and teams, and he's able to really very successfully manage and blend business excellence with people processes. He does this at his work at Tata Business Excellence. He's a subject matter expert for HR practices and culture interventions. He facilitates the business excellence assessors and practitioners workshops and facilitates a number of the assessor programs at TBXG. works closely in the areas of hospitality, travel, ITES, aerospace, and defense sectors. And therefore, that rich experience of aligning and leveraging the Tata Business Excellence model across different industries. And what does that really look like and pan out? Deepak is a certified quality improvement associate, a certified manager of quality and organizational excellence, deep interest in behavior and performance. He is certified in MBTI, EMT, OCAI, culture change management, and of course is a Belvin accredited practitioner. And I use the word practitioner and not only professional, because he has definitely done the Belvin accreditation, but he's gone really deeper and taken it throughout within the Tata Business Excellence Group. Him along with his team, I think are truly leveraging Belvin on the ground. And I think that's very interesting. When I say Deepak is passionate about his work, but there's also this other side of him where he is completely into fitness. And I love the examples and how he takes in insights from the whole world of sports and fitness and brings it into the organization culture and context also. With that, Deepak, a hearty welcome and so looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you so much, Pearl, for a very warm introduction. I still recollect those initial days when I went through this certification, and like we used to call ourselves the ninjas, and understanding the language of Belbin. So yes, you're trying to understand. It's still a process, learning so much from so many people, and so far it's been a great journey. And thanks, Pearl, and thanks to Belbin UK for being with us, helping us on this journey of the excellence, just to promote the entire concept of world-class performance. So, Pearl, I'll just share my slides.
Yes, sure, will do.
So
do you want to, Deepak, do you want to get like a quick poll from the participants first before we get into
sure. Certainly.
So, Deepak and I were discussing yesterday, and we said, how do we try and make this, as interactive as possible? And we said one of the things that may be interesting to do is while we introduce ourselves, to get a little feel of where you are coming from right now. So there's a little poll that we've put out, and it says, as we look at the wave of change currently engulfing us, how do you feel? Would you say that you're feeling a bit overwhelmed? Are you managing to keep your balance? Are you riding the wave of change? And also, how is your organization managing? You say that the organization is a little overwhelmed. We are managing to keep our balance, or are we riding the wave of change? Okay, I see the votes are coming in. And it'll be interesting to really see how is this coming out? What's the trend that we're beginning to see? So another 30 seconds before we close the poll. Okay, I'm going to just wait till this goes up to about 70%. Okay. Let's end the poll here and let's see what the results look like. Okay, I'm going to share the results and hopefully everyone should see this on your screen. Deepak, are you able to see it on your screen?
Yes.
Oh, brilliant. I think we have some good news, really, if I'm looking at it right now. I think with over a year of really having to manage the way we are, we do have individuals, 11% of us feel a bit overwhelmed. And I think there are instances where we totally feel that. 56% saying I'm managing to keep my balance, and 32% saying I'm riding the wave of change. That's brilliant. Yeah. From an organization perspective, we are overwhelmed. Yes. 69% are saying we're managing to keep our balance, and 27% saying we're riding the wave of change. Interesting. Deepak, anything, what strikes you from this?
It's wonderful to see that people are looking at having that balance, which is so important. However, I feel that it's a feeling which keeps on changing on a continuous basis. So at any point of time, we feel overwhelmed, we feel there is anxiety, and very soon we kind of overcome that with a balance, and then understand that it's important to ride over this particular phase also. So it's good to see all those aspects coming in. And I think that's the nature of humanity. We will go through those feelings, but really good to see that most of the organizations have kind of overcome the overwhelming feeling and being able to write the change. Wonderful.
Very true. No, brilliant. And I think that also brings us well to talking about the Tata Business Excellence model, because of course the model came about to help Tata companies manage dynamic environments and the ever-changing need of business. I'm going to leave this open to you now, Deepak, to give us tell us a little bit about the ethos of the Tata Business Excellence model, a little bit about how it all started off.
Sure. So let me just share my screen, and then maybe I'll let me know if my screen is visible, Pearl.
Yes, visible and now on full screen also. Yes.
Great, wonderful. So the entire journey of Tata Business Excellence has been for 26 years as of now, and this is the 27th year that we are getting into it. And so all the 100 companies, 100 odd companies of Tata Business Excellence Group go through this ritual, I would say, of participating in this entire exercise of excellence, or just wanting to be world class, making it a way of life. And the essence of this comes from J.R.D. Tata, who has been chairman of the Tata Group for almost 50 years, 5 decades. And of his 5 principles, one of his principles was around excellence. And 29th of July is a day when we celebrate his birth anniversary. And there's always this thought that how do we inculcate all his teachings into the way we conduct ourselves? And that is where we have instituted an award which kind of celebrates excellence in individuals, in companies, and so on. So he's been somebody who has kind of seeded this thought of excellence in each one of us. And let me share this a small story of him. As we all know, he was chairman of Tata Airlines, which is now Air India. And once while flying, I mean, this is what has been quoted, but most of the times this used to happen. So once while flying to Europe, he had some tea, and just after landing over there, he wrote a letter to the general manager, and his comments was that, okay, I had a tea on the flight, and the color of the tea was not very different from that of a coffee. So either the quality of tea needs to be looked at, or the brewing at the right temperature needs to be looked at. He followed on saying that the reclinations of the seats were not all equal. There were some seats which were like more comfortable, slightly reclining a little bit more. And his instructions were, I mean, his thing was, why don't you make every seat equally reclinable? So that is an essence of him in terms of excellence in small things. And that has actually led to various aspects from positivity and led to transformational change. So we celebrate JRDQB every year, and what I have a small video clip for us to just look at the journey of last 25 years. And this is where we have the ecosystem of assessors and colleagues like us who have experienced the process. So I'm just going on to the small video clip. Pearl, please let me know if you can listen to the audio also.
Yeah. Yes.
Is life just a journey? Or is it a long, winding conversation? What is it? What is it that we leave behind? Memories. Memories that inspire. Even after 25 years, you have continued to inspire an entire generation.
I have, for Tata, great admiration and deep affection. Among the many impressive people I have met in my life, I would put Tata at the very top who had an impact, who thought with enormous precision, combined with great humanity. I consider J. Tata, for me personally, one of the rewards of my life.
Your relentless pursuit for perfection with a deep human touch shines a guiding light for many.
What really inspires me about JRD is how to treat people.
There couldn't have been a better way to remember him.
Well, I'm proud to be associated with the group that's carrying forward his legacy.
Huge sense of pride.
It's incredible.
Instituting an award in your memory has had its profound influence on how Tata Group operates today. Metaphorically speaking, the Performance Excellence Program has manifested as an engine for value creation.
What started as an award 25 years back has today become an amazing platform.
I think this is so much more than just an award, the JRD QB Award. That's why I think this process is firing on all 6 cylinders.
The JRD Quality Values Award. Assessment Diagnostics. Progressive vocabulary. Opportunity for deep dive. Brand equity and business promotion corporate agreement. TBEM feedback to boards.
And when I really dug into the Tata situation and what Tata's doing, I said, oh my gosh, they've actually started to do some of these things. We're not doing them here in the United States. They're doing them. That was exciting. So that motivated me even more. What's been achieved has been incredible. You can take one company and apply the Baldrige criteria over a number of years, but to keep it going beyond 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years is really a challenge. But now you talk about taking upwards of 100 companies, including subsidiaries and so forth, with Tata, and keep that going for 25 years, that's remarkable. This is world class. Tata is a role model that we all should be looking to.
The Tata Business Excellence Model and JRD QB has been an important foundation framework on which our group companies have pursued our businesses, keeping in mind the interest of all the stakeholders. It is with tremendous foresight that Mr. Ratan Tata has set up this TBEM and JRD QB framework 25 years ago. As he has often said, it has proved to be a glue that binds all our group companies. If it was felt necessary 25 years ago, I can only say that its relevance and importance is very important today, and it's going to be so in the future. In a world that is going to be more agile, more connected, and data and AI driven, TBEM, and particularly its focus in the areas of customer insight, talent, and data analytics is going to be very crucial for all of us and our group companies. I want to congratulate Tata Business Excellence Group for this 25 years of success and wish them all the very best for the next 25 years.
Your legacy, our pledge, and above all, our collective destiny for one Tata.
Okay, so that was a small video on we celebrating our 25 years of JRD QB. So basically, at the end of the assessment every year, we celebrate excellence of companies, individuals who have achieved a better performance as either industry leaders or benchmark leaders or world-class performers. So as you all know, Tata has been almost 150-year-old company. And there are two basic pillars which are very important for any Tata Group company. And these are based on our logo, which goes with leadership with trust. So we have the Tata Code of Conduct, which means doing our business in an ethical manner, which kind of relates with the trust aspect. But at the same time, we need to be leader in whatever we are doing, and that is from an excellence domain. That's where we call doing your business ethically and doing it in an excellent manner. So all our companies which are there part of the Tata Group are kind of signatories to brand equity business promotion, which means every Tata company have to follow the Tata Code of Conduct and have to follow the Tata Business Excellence model. What you see on the right-hand side is a business excellence model. It is kind of a booklet which has various set of aspects, the model which kind of unfolds into various categories, questions, and it is also beautiful self-assessment tools which companies use to understand where they are on their journey of excellence on a maturity scale. And that is something which we have been using to kind of take it forward in terms of the excellence of that particular company. So at Tata Business Excellence Group, we are a part of Tata Sons. What you see on the left-hand side is the Tata Business Excellence model, the framework that I spoke of, which has been there for the last 26 years. We also have three more frameworks. So we also have a data maturity framework, which looks at the excellence, data excellence, digital excellence of an organization. We also have something called a social excellence, and that is something which I've been using it for last 10 years. And this is something even before the government mandate has come in. As you all know, in India, we were having this kind of regulation of doing more for the underprivileged society. So even before a regulation came in, we thought that it is our responsibility as an organization to do something more for the organization. And finally, the aspect of safety, which is really critical, important for us. Just on the social excellence framework, for us at the Tata Group, the community is not the stakeholder. It's not just the stakeholder, but it is the sole purpose why the business exists. Because everything that we do finally goes back to Tata Sons and then to Tata Trust and various other philanthropic activities. So the entire framework, all these four frameworks have been deployed by Tata Business Excellence Group in an ecosystem which consists of employees from all the Tata Group companies. So it is this ecosystem of employees who are trained as assessors and who take up these initiatives of assessing an organization on the aspects of business excellence, giving them feedback and propelling them on their journey of excellence. So this is the entire ecosystem. So we are very few, around 15, 20 of us who manage it, but we don't do the assessments. We are only part of the entire hub and spoke model where all the company executives and employees participated in this process. So let me just come to this sense of what excellence is for Tata Business Excellence model. So we have adopted the Malcolm Baldrige framework, and it is equivalent to any other framework. There are some 2-3 frameworks models which are used. So there's this study which has been done by NIS, which is National Institute of Standards and Technology, where they kind of research what are those attributes of world-class companies or high-performing companies. And when I talk about these high-performing companies, it's not only those companies who are there on Fortune 500, but have been there for a significant amount of time. We all know this, the average age of a company on Fortune 500 list is around 15 years. Whereas there are companies who are much older. So it's also the sustainability part of it. How do you look at those attributes which really make a company world-class? And just as an example, the oldest of the organizations that we know is a hotel restaurant in Japan, which has been there in existence since last 1,200 years. And actually, if you look at it, they would also be following some of those attributes which we'll be looking at. So the NISST regularly does a lot of research in identifying what are those core attributes of high-performing companies which would make them really world-class and sustainable. And here are a few. So the first aspect is systems perspective, which means the entire alignment of various work systems, processes, not only within the organization, but with your suppliers, partners, customers, and ecosystem. And that actually happens to be one of the fulcrum of the way organizations are being managed. So that is a systems perspective as a core value, which is quite important. The next one is the visionary leadership. We all know what visionary leadership means, but it goes just beyond setting the organization vision. It also means walking the talk. It also means creating the right kind of a culture for the organization, be it culture of customer centricity, be it culture of innovation, be it culture of operational excellence. So all those aspects have to be created by leadership. So when we are talking about leadership, it is not a particular layer of leadership at the top, but leadership across the organization. So how well are those leaders doing what they are supposed to do, including aspects of a leadership system, which organizations have benefited by having a leadership system. Next is the entire focus on customers. How do you focus on being customer obsessed or on the aspect of excellence? The customer could be a B2B or a B2C, it could be a customer, it could be a consumer, your current customers, your future customers, potential customers. The entire aspect of customer acquisition, customer retention, customer loyalty, the organization brand standards, and how do you continuously keep focusing on delighting and delivering to your customers. So this is one of the attributes over here. One example I'll take over here is, let's say, Disneyland. We all know kids love it. The kind of customer centricity they have is just like amazing, world class. Next is the entire focus on organizational learning and agility. So it's not only individual learning, but how is an organization as a complete entity learning and quickly moving ahead, and the entire organization being agile to various aspects which are happening within the organization and outside, in terms of quickly aligning with marketplace requirements, aligning with the challenges from disruptions, cross industry challenges which come in and so on. Another good example over here, of course, there'll be many if you actually do an exercise over here, but Google would be something which comes and sits very well over here. In fact, they have made a business model out of their organizational learning. So anything that we need, we go in and search it out over there. So this is another value which is really important, and how well top companies are exhibiting those values. Next is, of course, how do you value people, and the people feel valued in the organization. It's all about their engagement, which drives the right customer satisfaction, customer happiness. It's also about how do we make them feel valued, where they get an opportunity to continuously groom themselves, grow, develop, and they continue to be brand ambassadors of the organization. So again, valuing people becomes a very important aspect of specific processes which lead to this value of valuing your people. Moving on, the entire aspect of innovation. And yes, most of the organizations do use various mechanisms, be it incremental improvements or innovation. But that has to be a part and parcel of the organization. How do we continuously keep on improving as well as innovating? This innovation could be around not only products, services, experiences, but it could be around business models, it could be around products, around processes, and the entire organization thinks in a very innovative manner. And the innovations basically help the stakeholders feel nice, good, and add value to the organization. So this is one aspect of innovation, and I'm sure you'll agree. There's no other company which comes in when we speak about, let's say, a 3M or an Apple, who are known for their innovative products, and the way they do it is it just doesn't happen just like that, but there is a process, a mechanism, a method to the entire aspect. Moving on, it's around the focus on success. So when you talk about success, it's not just success for now, but also success for the future. How do you look at success in terms of balancing various stakeholder requirements? Your stakeholders could be your customers, your employees, your investors, your shareholders, your community. How do you look at a balance? How do you look at a balance between what looks like a success now and what could be successful in the future? So a whole lot of examples over here. In a way, it is looking at the strategy from a short-term basis, mid-term basis, and a long-term basis. Management by fact. I think this is one of the core aspects which really makes a huge difference. And this is nothing but measurement. Are we measuring everything that we are doing? Finally, what gets kind of highlighted is the objectivity in everything that we do. It could be the company share value or the NPS score or any other aspect, but these are all lag indicators. Are we measuring it sufficiently in terms of all the lead indicators, various aspects from the stakeholder perspective to ensure that this particular value is delivering? So the entire aspect of measurement, management, in-process measures, out-process measures are core to management by fact. The next three are relatively easier to understand. All comes under societal contribution. How do we continue to be mindful of the societies in which we are existing? How we don't exploit the natural resources? The focus is, of course, on triple bottom line. Your planet first, people next, and then profits. And most of the companies are doing it. Then it's also about ethics and transparency. I'll not speak about it, but just on transparency, it's not only being considered to be transparent, but also being perceived as transparent, which means taking those right decisions in a very transparent manner, which all the stakeholders know why those decisions have been taken. And last but not least is delivering values and results. This values and results are not only your financial results, but every stakeholder has their expectations, and how do we deliver those expectations in terms of the values and results. So a combination of all those 11 core values is something which, if an organization follows, would be sustainable and would continuously move on the journey of excellence. And we took some examples of companies where they are demonstrating those values very well. And if you look at more companies, they would also have similar values, but if they do a little bit more, it would certainly help them. So TBM is all about understanding how well those values have been embedded in the organization. So a quick look at it. The slide looks a little crowded, but I'll try to kind of just get into it. So the idea is, how are these 11 core values embedded in an organization? It could be any organization, and the entire TBM excellence model is industry agnostic, which basically means that irrespective of what company you are into, be a salt to a software to an airlines, is the leadership demonstrating the visionary aspect. So all the 11 core values get replicated over here in terms of 6 process items. We call them categories, and the results. So we have the leadership, the visionary leadership, the strategy, the focus on success, the customers, how is the organization customer focused and driving customer excellence, and the entire aspect of measurement, analysis, and knowledge management. So they call this the driver, and this is something which is called a propeller. That is where we get all the focus or the inertia momentum in terms of the operations of the company or the workforce who are ensuring that the necessary vision is achieved. And finally, it is the result. So it's basically around this 7 categories that the TBM excellence model looks at how well those values have been deployed. So the way we look at it is, if those are those core values, what are the, let's say, company's vision, mission, strategic objective, and how those core values, let's say your value of customer centricity, customer centric excellence, how is it kind of imbibed in various processes, and it becomes a way of life in the organization. That is what we call as an approach. So do your processes have those right approaches taking care of all the core values? So it's just not the approach part of it, but how well are those deployed in the organization across? So irrespective of where your customer goes, everybody responds in a manner which is quite common and similar, quite uniform. So that is the deployment aspect. Most of the times we find this challenge that we are all well intended, but there is a gap in terms of when we actually deploy it. So whenever we deploy anything, there's obviously a result saying that, okay, has it produced the result which it was supposed to produce? If not, what can be done to change the approach, modify the approach, iterate the approach, and then move on? And on the right-hand side, we have this huge repository of best practices, lots of learnings from our past missteps, challenges, and how can we tip into this particular pool and carry over some learnings and refine our approaches so that the deployments can be improved. So the SSS community, I shared about, we got around 5,500 SSS who would actually be getting into an organization, and every organization gets assessed almost every year, depending on what maturity that organization is. And that maturity is defined in terms of number of points. So there are some 1,000 points which are distributed over those 7 categories. Each has certain aspect of those 11 core values, which is looked at. So typically, when you look at those 11 core values, there is a potential of more than 4.5 lakh questions which can be asked, or a company can just self-assess or reflect upon in terms of how they are doing, where they are doing, and how can they improve. Looks a little technical, but this is the foundation of TPM. So we basically look at how well those values have been embedded into the organization in terms of processes. And when we look at processes, we look at ADLI, and these are the alphabets which you will listen, or when you converse with somebody, you will listen that, okay, you got an A, but the D can improve, which is basically approach, the deployment, learning, and the integration. Similarly, when we look at results, we have a similar acronym in terms of levels, strengths, comparisons, and integration. Like, and I was saying, we have this 1,000 points which are distributed between 500 for the processes and 500 for the results. And the TBM Blue Book actually takes us through the entire aspect of what the score is, where the maturity is, and what are the opportunities for improvement. So we as assessors normally look at what are the strengths, what are the tailwinds the organization has, and what could be the potential headwinds that we need to be careful of. We don't use the word weaknesses, but we use the word explore or opportunities for improvement. So, Paul, that was in essence what TBM is all about and what we have been doing. And it's, like I said, more than 850 companies have participated in this process for the last 26 years. And we did it even last year, where even the Olympics got rescheduled, but we went ahead and did the assessment for around 15 odd companies. So let me just take a pause over here.
Thank you for that, Deepak, because I think while you were going through and explaining it to us, in my mind, I'm thinking to myself and I'm saying such a robust process of really looking at how the values get translated on the ground and to have this across the different organizations. This is a good time also to put in any queries or questions that you may have. Please use the Q&A section to put in your queries or questions, and also any comments that you may want to put in and share. We also thought it may be interesting to kind of start relating this to our own lives and our own experience and to our lived reality. So we're also going to be inviting you on the chat section right now. So queries and questions on the Q&A, please. But on the chat section, Deepak did go through the core values. And when you look at an environment that is disruptive, an environment that is challenging, from your experience, which of the values do you think lend itself more easily to effectively managing a disruptive environment? Which of these values lend itself immediately, in fact, to effectively dealing with a disruptive or challenging environment? So put in your answers on the chat. Which of these values do you think immediately lend itself to a disruptive or a challenging environment? So we spoke of systems perspective, visionary leadership, focused on excellence. So Vivek says valuing people, beautiful, especially when we look at today's environment. Yes, valuing people. Santosh says visionary leadership. Yes, Santosh. Abdullah, Mr. Mirza says visionary leadership. Interesting. We've got quite a number of visionary leadership coming up over here. Deepak.
Wonderful. Great. Thanks. Sorry, I'm unable to see all the chats,
So we've got visionary leadership. Shruti says delivering value and results. Focus. Priyanka says focus. Thomas says valuing people. So focus, valuing people. Visionary leadership has got quite a number of people putting that in right now. Yeah, one more visionary leadership by Mario.
Great, wonderful. Any questions or anything?
As of now, yes, we do have two questions that have come in right now. Okay, I'm going to take Venkata's question. He says, my question is, what is the minimum score out of 1,000 that is required? And what is the highest score achieved? Yeah, what's the highest score achieved and the minimum score that's required?
Thanks, Professor Moti, for the same. So the way we do it is any company which is incorporated for the and is a signatory of BEBP. BEBP is Brand Equity Business Promotion. For the first 3 years, they're allowed to kind of just set up their businesses. And once they do that, after 3 years, they kind of get into the process of assessment. So for us, there is no score which is good or bad. Every organization is on its own journey of excellence. And so there are different stages which are there. It starts with early performance to world-class performance. Right now, so there are different companies which are there at different levels of maturity. However, as Tata Sons, we expect the companies to continuously improve upon their scores over a period of time. So let's say a company reaches a milestone of 550 plus, then they don't have to come into assessment every year. They come every alternate years, and the next milestone is 650, which we also call GRDQE, and it is an industry leadership, which basically means that the company can come once in 3 years. But in the intermediate time, they come into various deep dives, specific areas of intervention, which could be a strength or an opportunity for improvement. So as of now, we have TCS, which is a leader, and there are almost 6, 7 companies which are industry leaders, and there are a whole lot of other companies which are wanting to be into the industry leader of 650 plus. So TCS is leading. Of course, we have other companies which are very close by, and there's also an internal healthy competition to kind of keep on improving and increase the lead between the different companies. I hope that answers your question.
Beautiful. Thanks, Deepak. And we asked everyone about which are the values that lend itself, especially when you're managing disruption, when you're managing change. Also, tell us then, how has the Tata Business Excellence model become all the more relevant when we look at a situation like we are in right now, which talks about disruption. In fact, even Ganpati speaks of right now, how do you manage disruptive and sustainable innovation? So how does the Tata Business Excellence model help organizations in a situation like we are in today?
Sure. So as of now, I think we have not yet mastered the art of innovation. There are different companies where different frameworks, models are being used. For example, in Tata Chemicals, there is an entire innovation center where we have a set of scientists who are working. But what is more important is to realize that innovation need not be done only by research and development people or a few set of people. Can it be a way of life? Like we look at the entire aspect of performance and review. Review normally leads to improvements and innovation. So how do you look at various tools and techniques so that innovation can be encouraged? So we have an entirely different set of team which looks at institutionalizing innovation depending on the context and the company they are into. But this innovation can be right from your products, services, to your business models, to various aspects, including social dimensions of innovations. So those are the areas where we are looking at, and innovation is one major criteria where we looked upon managing innovation. So innovation is one area which cuts across all the criterias, right from leaders, how do they inspire innovation, to customers, how do we ensure that more and more products are coming from new innovative ideas, number of patents filed, the processes for that, and so on, including our people in terms of how do we encourage people to take risk, fail fast, and so on. We are not there yet. There are different companies which are at different levels of maturity, but we are learning fast, and we are moving in that particular direction. I hope that answers the question, Pearl.
Yes, Deepak. Thank you. And Deepak, give us, when we were talking about this also earlier, give us one example of how are the assessors looking at the Tata Business Excellence model, particularly from the aspect of the values perspective and relating it to the pandemic environment or a disruptive environment?
Okay, great, wonderful. Thanks for bringing this out. One is all the assessors. I mean, when we say assessors, they are actually a set of people who have been identified or recommended by various organizations, companies, saying that you would want them to be assessors. Like I said, we've got an assessor pool of 5,500 people as of now, and it continuously increases. So for assessors, it's like doing a full-fledged MBA in a short period of 3 to 4 months, because that is where they go and do an assessment of an entirely different company. Just for an example, let's say if Jaguar Land Rover is participating into assessment, so we'll be having 10 to 12 people coming from different Tata Group companies who would be going through the entire process of assessing them. And this is in addition to their normal work that they do. It's not that they are removed out of that system, get into a different ecosystem, but they continue to do their day work, and they continue to be SSS doing the rest of the time. So that's a great kind of an excitement. For me, I started way back in 2008, and since then it's more like a kick. It is quite intense. Every SSR needs to put in minimum 240 hours of efforts, other than the actual site visit for 8 to 10 days, where you're completely in the organization, visiting, doing a site visit. So that is the essence of SSS. We'll come to it, Pearl. Let me just go ahead in terms of how the demands or expectations from the model has been changing, how it has evolved. So initially, when we started, it was more criteria-led. It was more focused on criteria, the questions, strategy, and so on. But as we moved on, we have been making it more business-led. That is more key theme-oriented. So a key theme is a string of aspects which might be cutting across the organization. It could be customer centricity, it could be supply chain, it could be growth or globalization, and so on. So we have seen various themes emerge over last 26 years, and every year we make an analysis of what are those cross-cutting themes, what are the things that we need to look at. Over a period of time, the focus has now moved from business-led to strategy-driven in terms of not only the process of strategy, but also the quality of strategy. Moving forward, last couple of years onwards, now it's more on purpose-led, with the focus on future. So it's not only telling how the past performance has been, but also looking at how are we preparing the organization for the future from a readiness perspective and the sustainability aspect. So these are some great aspects where the assessors, in a way, go and give a feedback presentation to the management, to the board of the company. Imagine the management or the people who are there are experts who are dealing with their challenges, their customer products day in and day out. And here you have a set of assessors who have barely worked or gone through the organization for 3.5 months and making a presentation. But basically they're connecting dots, getting an outside-in perspective and presenting it. So the focus now is more strategy-based. It is more key theme-led output and the future readiness of the organization. So with this, I think the focus, since now we have been discussing about the entire aspect of pandemic, there's one exclusive category called strategy. And that is something which focuses on short-term and long-term factors of the organizations. And how do you maintain that balance of various stakeholders? How do you make the necessary resources available to the organization to make the future secure? Yes, nobody had predicted the challenges that we have gone through. We have a very robust mechanism to look at enterprise risk management framework and get into it. But the pandemic, the Black Swan event, which happened, nobody was ever prepared. But yes, organizations have tried to cope up with it. Like we had the initial poll, organizations are managing it, but it all comes back to how well are we balancing the entire thing. And I completely agree. It starts with visionary leadership. And in fact, most of the leaders have been mentioning that it's very important to be calm and composed during this particular phase. And that is something which gives us a better insight of how to deal with the situation, which is so dynamic, VUCA kind of a situation. So here is where I'm just sharing this particular aspect of customers, one of the stakeholders as customers. And we all know what are the different challenges which the customers are facing or consumers are facing. We all are kind of experiencing it, which is the worry in terms of physical safety, financial security, the sentiments which we go on, positive, negative, the disillusionments that we have, the quest for meaning, desire to help. So just imagine when we are dealing with our consumers, how do we deal with them? So we as assessors, we as TBHG, and with the entire ecosystem, we work with our assessors to not insist on customer satisfaction survey reports or get a feedback from customers, but understand how quickly are we being agile to understand the consumer needs, customer needs, and how do we go on. So the focus is around capturing the rapidly changing customer needs, their behaviors, what would make them happy, and the entire aspect of digitalization. So it doesn't mean that every company needs to start its own e-commerce, but how do we leverage on the existing platforms to deliver what it is? So let me give you an example of, let's say, Titan, which has right now almost 1,800 outlets in India are shut down. Of course, it was not required because in some states there is no lockdown or partial lockdown, but we felt what was important is the shutdown. And most of you would also know that last week we had a important festival called Akshaya Tritiya, and that is a day where on an average the Indians buy gold on that day. And typically any company would kind of make sales calls and pitches for people to buy. But this year, Titan didn't make any such calls because we thought that it's not the right thing to do when customers, consumers are going through challenges, and we didn't advertise during that particular period of time. And all our shops were shut. And just to understand, empathize even with our customers is so important. Another example I can quickly share is the entire way TCS has been operating now, secure workspaces, which means almost 4.5 lakh employees don't have to go to the office, but it has been converted into a product and providing those solutions to rest of the customers, predominantly into the B2B aspect. So again, the entire aspect, all the low 11 core values would be important, but how do you dive deeper into it more at a purpose level, understand what the stakeholder requirements are and doing it. Similarly, and I'm sure every company has been doing it, the entire focus on well-being of our employees. How do we take care of our people? So here again, two examples which come to my mind is the initial phase when IHCL, that is the Taj hotels, they were providing the stay facilities to doctors, and we all know that they provided all those stuff kind of free. And it is in fact one of the companies which has been severely impacted. And when you provide these facilities to your doctors who are coming and staying over there in your properties, the employees had to actually stay in the hotels for a continued period of 90 days, because once you are in, there is this mandated 14-day quarantine period. And just imagine employees doing things which was over and beyond their call of duty. So it's not like us that we go work, come back, but they had to stay away from their families for 80 days, 90 days at a stretch, just to be over there, do things. And the organization also does what is important. And again, keeping the customer centricity over here in mind. So how do you look at those aspects is something which you need to look at and learn. So these were some of the examples, including karigars. So karigars are basically from a Titan or their jewelry division, people who kind of actually make the gold over here. So most of the company-owned, company-operated shops where it was very clear, but we also have franchisee-owned, franchisee-operated, but still the value of employee well-being is very important. So how do we work with our partners to ensure that all the employees are safe, even if it means that incurring day-to-day losses is just fine. So those were some of the attributes which have happened, and that is something which we kind of look at it.
I think this is really interesting, Deepak, because what I'm really hearing and getting from you is going to the spirit of what the values really mean. And in spite of, and I think really going to what it means, and even more so in a challenging environment, how do you really stay true to the values, and you stay true to what the practice of that value would mean, what would the behavior look like. There are questions coming in, and we're going to try and see how we can best look at the questions. I'm also keeping a quick tab on time. We only have, we are close to the end time, but we also want to wrap up other aspects of today's session. So, Deepak, I'm going to ask you, when you look at the assessors and the teams that are really managing the entire Tata Business Excellence, the TBM process and the assessment process, tell us a little bit about the teams, how they've been formed, and how do you really measure the success? How does that really happen? And how do you really leverage the whole, getting them into the performance stage faster?
Yeah, sure. So this is something which we have been continuously working, and like we said, what gets measured gets managed. We have been trying to do the same for our own process. We have still not cracked it, but we are still experimenting it in terms of how do we go ahead. So broadly, this is how the composition of an assessment team looks like. Like I said, depending on the size of the company, if let's say it could be around 10 to 12 members, or if it is a really multi-business unit cross-geography company, it could go as high as 30 to 35 members in a team. So every team would be having a mentor. A mentor would be an MD, CEO of any other company who would be giving strategic directions inside to the team which is assessing. It would consist a team leader. Team leader would also be a senior professional, senior experienced person who has a good domain expertise as well as process understanding. There'll be a deputy leader who would also be part of the team, and there'll be some 7 to 8 team members. And we, like I said, we ensure that there are at least 30% new freshers who are trained and they get onto this journey of assessorship. And we have a person from TBXG, somebody like me who's a process consultant, just as a bridge between the assessment team and the applicant company. So the entire process is, like I said, happens between 3.5 to 4 months, and most often it happens that all the team members don't know each other. It's basically a high impact team which comes together, and they are shared with that application, which is basically a response to the TBM manual saying that this is how we are imbibing all the values. So the team has to go through it, but in the process when they go through it, what we encourage is a whole lot of divergence and convergence in the process. So we encourage lots of diversity of ideas, thoughts, who bring into that table, onto the table, because the same application, same process is understood or interpreted differently by different team members, and that is where diverse views come in. And those diverse views needs to be further got into some kind of a convergence before we make a presentation, and also tell a score saying that this is where this company is on maturity, and these are the areas which are working well for the company, and these are the areas where you need to do differently, or you may need to kind of reflect upon. So the entire team dynamics becomes very important. And around 3.5 4 years back we started working on it. And let me just share one of our colleagues, and Arvind is actually here on this call, and he has worked with Dr. Belvin, and he suggested us that why don't we look at something, because every time, and he himself is a team leader, and he experienced that every time he got into something, he had to make understand what are those different attributes every team member is getting onto the table, and how do you kind of leverage those. He tried a couple of times, but then he thought that it's better to institutionalize it, because we are not really aware. And that is when we kind of got into partnership with you, Pearl. We started off with the entire aspect of how do we know what our team roles are? How do we know that what are our preferred team roles? Because at different stages, let's say when we do a financial analysis, we would need somebody who has a good monitor evaluator, or when we are making a final presentation, we need a computer finisher to ensure that everything is captured. We would need a resource investigator who would know that who's the right person to just go there, quickly get the information, come back. And finally, somebody who is there who can put the entire team together, because the team actually meets virtually. The process typically starts somewhere in June, and it ends with the assessment somewhere in October, November, depending again on the company. So the initial interactions happen on a weekly basis, and there's a whole lot of individual stuff which the team has to do, and collectively they need to come to a consensus. And we need team workers who bring in that spark and the joy in the entire thing. And like I said, this year the entire assessment program process was virtual. Otherwise, we would have actually got into a place, we would have met people. But this last year we did the entire assessment virtually, which meant, at least for my team, we did 140 odd meetings, and every meeting there'll be 2 members who'll be going and having interaction with different colleagues from that particular company which is being assessed. You need to be there, and here again, as you assess, in turn you are being assessed. We are not there as auditors, we are there more as an people who are going to appreciate the company for all the good work that they're doing, but also look at various ways how we can help them and support them. So Belvin has certainly helped us in terms of various aspects, knowing what our preferred team roles are, what are the challenges, and how can we kind of leverage or fulfill those gaps which might cause a challenge for us. So we have subject matter experts. However, my personal feeling is not every team has been using it, but I have been part of this team over here, where we used Belvin. Okay, before we go to it, every team has to look at various hard facts in terms of data, goals, targets, structures, systems, processes, very left brain kind of an approach. Similarly, the teams also have to look at the softer aspects of quality, passion, caring, kindness, and things like that. So the entire exposure to Belvin has certainly helped people first to know themselves, ourselves better, the entire team in which they are working, And then when we go and engage with various company stakeholders, right from the MD of the company to the board, and finally we make a presentation to the group chairman, which is a one slider on various key insights. So it all requires a good understanding of ourselves and awareness of ourselves, and how what kind of interaction is going to help us optimize the objective of those interactions. So Wellbeing is helping us. We are still trying to figure it out how we can do it more. In fact, this year all the assessors have again undergone the assessment because we had completed 3 years, and we thought that it is important that everybody should go through it. And more teams members are using it for their own understanding, and it's a huge advantage for everybody who feel that okay, it's not only like doing a full-fledged MBA, but also knowing that okay, these are the areas that probably I need to work upon, and try something out during the assessment process over here. And we have got this theme of customized, collaborative, and celebrated. So quickly, so this was my team where we used Belvin. So this was just after the presentation. That is where we were all celebrating. My own preferred team roles are coordinator, source investigator, and team worker. And I know even now this team is still there on WhatsApp. And what I recollect is since WhatsApp started, I'm there on all the previous teams also. Because that connect, that bonding is so much there, and at any point of time I need something from somebody, any company in the group, I know whom to reach out to. So this is an example of the team which has work together, and there's a whole lot of hard work. And we also had lots of challenges. We had unfortunately some casualties which happened, but the idea is how do we continue to do what we're supposed to do. Some celebrations which the teams did again virtually, having these calls late in the evening because we had colleagues who joined from US, UK, and we need to be mindful of their times. And we did the entire assessment from home. So we had the family members also who joined us. And when we are having these interactions, family members used to come in, but we knew that family needs those attention, and we did what was required to just be thankful to the family members. We also had members who were blessed with babies during the entire process, and they had to take some time out, but everybody else kind of pitched in to help and support it. So that is the way I think Wellbeing has been helping us. I don't think we have fully utilized it. There's a whole lot of opportunity for us to do it. And since you mentioned about how do we measure it, so we use a 360 at the end of the assessment. So every team member gets a 360 feedback from rest of the team members, and also a feedback from the MD and the business excellence head of the company. So that is quite valuable insight. And what we have experienced is last 2-3 years, the overall scores, be it professionalism, be it actionable insights, those scores have been improving significantly. And I mean, of course, there are a whole lot of attributes which get into it, but certainly understanding of Belbin, understanding our team roles has also contributed significantly in terms of the improvement on the scores on 360 and overall feedback that we have been getting from our stakeholders of the process.
Fantastic. This is I think this is fantastic, Deepak, and I'm looking at all the questions also that are coming in, and I'm also looking at the time. I know we've already overshot the time, and I know a couple of people have to leave. Wow, Joe says, "Wow, fantastic." I'm going to take 2 questions, which I think will be shorter questions, and we will try and find a way in which we could answer the others. But very quickly, Deepak, is TBEM open to non-Tata Group companies?
Well, I think there's so much to do within the Tata groups that all our resources have to be directed over there. But we are partnering with other business excellence frameworks. What I'd also suggest is CI has a similar framework, and they use a CI Exim framework, which is there. So you can certainly look at those frameworks which can be used. Like I said, there's a whole lot of things which needs to be done. We still feel we are not even halfway through what we need to do or what we need to achieve. But we'll be happy to help support if any organization kind of want to have some more information. We'll be happy to share it with the companies, but we are not actively got into kind of doing an assessment. We have had one-off kind of a engagement which has been done, but there's so much we need to do for ourselves.
In the Tata, exactly. Amit says, any changes in the business excellence attributes post-COVID? And I think this is what you mentioned, Deepak. It's more in terms of how it is now being applied and going back to the whole core values and staying core to it, right? It's really the application and the mindset all the more making it its true north. Yeah.
Right. So if I can just add to it, in fact, every year there is a refresh which comes from NIST, and there has been an addition in terms of resilience. So as we move forward, so every year the blue book, the manual gets updated and it is made more contextual. So as we move on next year onwards, we'll be having a specific aspect on resilience, how a complete definition of resilience, and how our companies are dealing with resilience. We are also having some more aspects which would strengthen the entire aspect of cybersecurity and e-commerce. So yes, the model continuously improves on a regular basis, and happy to inform you that we also give lots of inputs to Malcolm Baldrige framework, and we have a Tata colleague on the board of Malcolm Baldrige, where they also take lots of inputs from us in terms of modifying or fine-tuning the questionnaire or the reference model.
Excellent. And Deepak, I am going to, so we do still have questions. I am going to try and see if we can take those questions, and Deepak, maybe if possible, answer them separately via email. We'll see if that's going to be a possibility. I am also very aware of the time, and a big thank you to everyone who stayed on. I know everyone's going to be busy, but to end the session, and the final question, which I think is really important, Deepak, is what for you is really excellence? Yeah, now that you've spent time and you're really into the Tata business excellence model, what for you is excellence, and what drives that passion for you?
Well, I'm still trying to find an answer for that, Pearl, to be very honest. I don't know, but I do apply concepts of ADLI. I do look at a very balanced approach of anything and everything that I am doing. And be it any aspect, be it your ability to read or fitness or anything, I have been applying the concept of approach, deployment, learning, integration, which is actually I feel is quite helpful. However, I say, I mean, this is something which I thought of, and I'm still trying to get that right balance in terms of how can we be emotional but yet principled, objective yet empathetic, warm yet being firm, positive but constructive, listening while conveying, learning as well as coaching, pushing as well as pulling, running as well as changing, relentless and gentle. There might be more, there might be few who might get knocked off, but it's a journey of discovery for me, Paul, and I'm enjoying what I'm doing.
Oh, brilliant. Deepak, thank you so much. I think this last slide captures it really well. Our quest for excellence is something that I think constantly at every moment we must strive for. I think we have JRD to thank to really, I think, bring this into the mindset for Tata organizations, but in that also making such a difference to each individual. There are a lot of messages coming in, people saying thank you. Dipti says they spoke about the yin and the yang. Beautiful. Also, before we leave, I am also going to actually just launch one more poll, and this is really to get your inputs. We want to know how was the session for you, and of course our forthcoming sessions, to really know which are the ones you would be interested in, so we could give you some of those details. Yeah, so if you could definitely vote in on the poll that we have just launched, that would be brilliant. In the meantime, I'm reading all that is in the chat box. Questions we're going to try and answer. Dr. Maheshwari says, wonderful session. So Deepak, I think there are a lot of thank yous up over there saying, yeah, I can read a lot of thank yous and people finding it very insightful.
Thanks everybody. It was indeed a pleasure being over here and share a little bit with all of you over here. Thank you so much.
I think, Deepak, you have given us an opportunity that does not come very easily, because I think you have shared with us what goes in the inside and the working of Tata's, and for that, thank you. In that, it has been very, very enriching. Big thank you, Deepak. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, Paul. It was a pleasure being over here with you. And thank you, everybody, for your patience. We know we exceeded a bit, but thank you so much.
Thank you. And to everyone who has been with us during this time, as Deepak said, thank you for joining us. We look forward to meeting you at another session. And until then, do take care of yourselves, stay safe, and just very positive, good wishes to everybody. I think we all need that right now. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Paul. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Deepak. Bye-bye. See you.